Hey, I'm Allison from Learning at the Primary Pond. I'm a literacy specialist, and in this video, we're going to talk about what you should avoid doing and what you should do instead to help the advanced readers in your classroom. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, make sure to do that now before we dive in, and then also hit the little bell so that you don't miss out on any of the brand new videos that I post about teaching literacy. I'm excited to share this video with you today because this topic is so important. As educators, we're obviously very concerned about the kids that are below level, right? The kids that need our help to catch up, and that's very important, right? Attending to their needs is super important. But at the same time, we don't want to ignore our kids that are higher, that are more proficient, especially in K-2. If we end up with kids in our class that are already fluent readers and maybe their spelling's pretty good, or, it looks like they have a lot of their literacy skills in place, then it's kind of like, well, what do you do, right? But we have to make sure that those kids are moving forward as well. I'm curious though, because, years ago, sometimes when I was earlier on in my teaching career, I would feel a little bit uncertain of what do I do with this group of kids? They're my top group. Should I be seeing them in small group? What do I do to keep moving them forward? So if you've ever felt like this, just type unsure in the comments. I feel like, when other teachers see hey, they're not the only ones who've struggled with this, that's just kind of a relief because, I think it's easy to feel guilty oh my gosh, I'm doing all this stuff for my lower readers. What about my advanced readers? Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about now. Okay, so 2 things you do not want to do when it comes to helping your advanced readers. Number 1 is just to give them more work. So instead of reading, 1 passage, they're asked to read 2 passages, or, you just give them a longer book or more of the same type of math problem that everybody's getting. It can be tempting to do this because you're like, well, I need to fill their time, right? They need more to do. But we need to actually give them work that's appropriate for them, not just give them busy work. The second thing we want to avoid is assuming that just because a child is very advanced in reading, that, they're really good with their skills and maybe they're even a decent writer. We can't assume that all of these little skills that make up reading and writing are 100% in place, because what can happen is if we're oh yeah, they're good to go, they can just read and write and whatever, there might be these little things that end up popping up later, especially as they get up into the higher grades, that they actually really needed help with. So again, 2 things to do, or rather not to do. Don't just give your kids more of the same type of work to fill their time. And number 2, don't assume that just because they might appear to be good at reading and or writing, that all the foundational skills are already in place. Okay, now let's talk about what to do instead. So my first strategy is to make sure that you pinpoint areas of weakness that may be hidden. Now, kids that are advanced readers, sometimes they can actually struggle with spelling, or they may just have such a huge sight word bank of words because they've read so much, or they're picking it up easily, that they actually don't have the decoding skills to read more challenging multisyllabic words. They're just kind of stumbling through them, which you may not even know, especially if they're doing a lot of silent reading. So what we need to do is we need to bring it back and assess and figure out, okay, how are they doing with those foundational phonics skills that contribute to reading and spelling? And so in my 1st and 2nd grade literacy club, what I have here, this is part of the phonics practice protocol. If you're a member, it's inside the intervention central area. This is a nonsense word reading assessment and a spelling inventory. And these 2 things, of course, the spelling inventory will assess spelling and see if there's any little hidden weaknesses there. But the nonsense word reading is how can they apply their phonics knowledge to read new words? Because these aren't real words, right? So we actually get to see, if they already know the word bird and we're read this word, and they're bird, that's great, but that doesn't mean that they actually understand our controlled vowels like the IR in bird. So having to apply that to nonsense words can be really helpful because we see, maybe there's a little tricky area that they aren't proficient in, and that could contribute to difficulty in reading 1-syllable, multisyllabic words. So this phonics practice protocol tool with the assessment is really helpful in finding hidden gaps. Now, of course, phonics is just one piece of the puzzle, and your advanced readers might be solid in phonics, which is great, but there's more, right? Even if kids can read text well, and maybe they can read tell, there's probably some higher level thinking skills that maybe aren't quite as developed yet. So self-monitoring. Do your high readers just breeze through a book And they don't notice if their comprehension is broken down. They don't do anything when they realize that they're confused, or maybe they don't even notice that they're confused. Self-monitoring is really kind of a high-level skill, and that has to be developed in kids. So that might be something that your higher readers need to work on. Another thing that your higher readers may need help with is inferring the meaning of new vocabulary words. I can't tell you how many times I've been working with an advanced reader and yeah, they can say the words in a text, but then I'll come back and be like, oh, this word, do you know what that word means? Or have you heard of that before? And they'll just be like, no. And they won't have done anything to try to figure out what that word means. Maybe because they're so advanced in decoding, they're used to encountering words that are beyond their current development in vocabulary because they're reading so much, which isn't a bad thing, but they also have to be taught to slow down and figure out, what does this word mean? How can I use the text and context to figure out a potential definition? So sometimes our advanced readers need to be taught to slow down and really think about when they're, notice when they're learning a new word or seeing a new word and use a strategy to figure out what it might mean. And then the last area, this is kind of a broad area of comprehension, but it's just inferential thinking in general. So when we're reading something, the author says words, right? And the words might be the sun was shining, it was 80 degrees out, blah, blah, blah. And the author doesn't necessarily come out and say, this story is taking place in the summer. We as the readers have to make that inference. And as adult proficient readers, a lot of times we're making many of those decisions, or not decisions, but inferences automatically. We don't have to think about it. And some inferences are more obvious than others, right? But for kids, even our advanced readers, sometimes the reading between the lines required of us as readers can be challenging. So we need to make sure that that's great if they can retell, but also can they really think more deeply? Do they really understand what's going on in a text? Why a character is acting a certain way? Are they getting all of that? My second strategy to use with your advanced readers is to extend an activity above and beyond maybe what the other kids are able to do. Just because you have some advanced readers doesn't mean that you have to be having a whole other curriculum or doing totally different things with them, right? That's not really feasible usually, assuming you have a class of more than 5 children. And so we have to be creative about how can we take an activity and then bring it to the next level to give our advanced readers a bit of a challenge. And in the Kindergarten Literacy Club and first and second grade Literacy Club, we are all about differentiation and making it easy for you to differentiate because we provide different levels of activities, which I'll show you in a little bit, but also we provide ideas for extension activities. So here's an example of this. It says caption this. And students were learning about text features in the small group lesson that goes with all of this. And so then the small group lesson plan, of course, has the text reading and the instruction on the text features, but then there's an extension activity where kids can complete a caption this and write a caption for a photo. So that means that they have to do a lot of things, which is advanced, higher order thinking, right? They have to understand what a caption is. They have to understand what's appropriate in length for a caption. What would the reader need to know about this photo so that they can, explain that in the caption that they write. So there's perspective taking too. And so this is an activity where maybe your whole class reads something and then you have some kids that are able to do an activity like this with it. So just going a little bit above and beyond maybe what some of the other kids are able to do. And then my last strategy is to make differentiation easy on yourself with different level materials. So these are from a month of the first and second grade literacy club, and these passages are for small group. They're all in technology, but they're at different difficulty levels. So they are controlled for phonics patterns, similar to a decodable, but you can see that okay, so an easier first grade text looks like this. And then we get a little harder, and then we get a little harder and harder and harder till we get to a level that's advanced. We always do everything from in the first and second grade literacy club, starting at an easier first grade level, kids that are below first grade level, all the way through on level first grade, above level first grade, second grade, below second grade, above second grade. So we really give you a range. And so then when it's time for small group, all of your kids can actually be learning about the same topic or reading a similar story, but they are working at with a level of text that is more appropriate for them. And for you, it's just so much easier, right? Because you have one core text and you don't have to worry about finding text, all these different texts on maybe the same topic or different topics and trying to meet every single group's needs. You have all that at your fingertips. And that means that your higher readers, just as much as your lower readers, also get to work with text that's right for their level. Now, we do this in the Kindergarten Literacy Club as well. Obviously, in kindergarten, it's a little bit different because kids are just kind of starting to read like CVC words, and maybe it takes a little while for them to get into actual reading, but we do the same thing where you have different leveled texts. And they're not level text in the terms of level text, they're decodables, but they're decodables at different difficulty levels so that you can truly differentiate and meet the needs of every group. My literacy clubs that I've been talking about here are only open twice a year in January and July, but if the clubs are not open right now and you would still love to get access to, all of these differentiated materials that you get brand new every single month, then you've got to get on the wait list. I will include the link for the wait list in the caption for this email. Being on the wait list means that you get some special goodies, which I won't ruin the surprises, but you'll be getting some special goodies. And when the literacy clubs open, you will be the first to know, and you'll have the first opportunity to join. All right, I hope these ideas were helpful in working with your advanced readers. Before you leave, I would love it if you would like this video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in my next video.